I'm Rene Ritchie, and I hear you. I feel you. For the last couple of years, the Pro and Pro Max iPhones have been identical, except for the Max part, the size part. But this year, this 2020 of years, the cameras are different, and even the size differences are different. So, if you still can't decide between the iPhone 12 Pro and the iPhone 12 Pro Max, if you're still on the fence, if you prefer the regular Pro size but want that Pro Max camera or battery, if you don't mind big phones but worry the new Max is just too big, but if you also worry that if you don't get it, you might just regret it, if you've got full-on FOMO YOLO but worry Pro Max price is just a no-go, then wow, but do I have the video for you. Just sucker punch that subscribe bell or I'll delete your 120 hertz, and then let's do this. So, I'm actually trying to decide between the iPhone 12 Pro and the iPhone 12 Pro Max myself, right now. I used to get all the plus-sized iPhones, but when the iPhone 10 came out, that was enough for me. I never went Max, not for the 10s or the 11. But now that new camera is calling me back. So I'm going to use the same video to decide right along with you, and I'll give you my answer at the end. But for right now, let's start with the price. The Max is $100 more than the Pro. And that's it. For everything we're gonna go over next, the cost differential is just $100, which I understand may be a lot for some people, like 10% more a lot, even on a $1,000 phone. But with trade-ins, installments, upgrade programs, the difference over the course of a year, never mind several, isn't gonna be that much. And of course, never spend dime more one than you can or should. And if you have a hard limit, absolutely stick to it. I'm just saying that if you don't have any other concerns, like at all, price just isn't a huge blinking neon stop sign for the Max. Not once you've decided to go Pro at least. That size though. I mean, Apple has already made the Pro bigger. It's full on iPhone XR, iPhone 11 like now, 5.8 inches to 6.1. So if you're going Pro at all, you're going big and bigger. Not too much bigger though. The display has gone from 6.5 inches to 6.7, so it really is the maxiest of Max phones Apple has ever made. Some of that is reduced bezel. Okay, a tiny bit of that. It's only 0.11 inches taller, but only 0.01 inches wider, and it's also 0.03 inches thinner, though yeah, 0.06 ounces heavier. All of that to say, if you were okay with any of the plus-sized iPhones, or ever owned or held the iPhone XS or iPhone 11 Max, the iPhone 12 Max won't be that much of a difference. In fact, the biggest difference might just be the everything old is new again squared off design, because the loss of the iPhone 6 to iPhone 11 era curves do make the iPhone 12 series feel more substantial, grippier. The edges don't just slide into your hand so much as press into it, which some prefer and others really don't, and let me know which one of those you are in the comments. But either way, if you're coming from a smaller iPhone, not even talking 5 or original SE, but just a 6 or 10 or even 10R or 11, you'll want to be careful about considering the size. If you're coming from the Plus or the previous Max or yeah, basically any Android phone this side of a Pixel non-XL, you'll probably be just absolutely fine. The colors, silver, graphite, 18K gold, and Pacific blue are the same on both Pros. So is the design, the stainless steel antenna bands, the matte glass on the back, the ceramic shield on the front, the notch, all the same. All just as Pro, all just as notched on both of them. Even the displays on the iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro are identical in every way except for size. Same OLED, same HDR, high dynamic range, same contrast ratio, typical max and brightness levels, same, everything, except for the size. With the increased size, you do get a higher pixel count on the iPhone 12 Pro Max display, an extra 246 vertical and 114 horizontal, which is like half the size of the original iPhone, which is ridiculous. But at today's pixel counts and densities, really isn't that much at all. And like 10 and 6 more than the 11 Max. Probably not even enough to put any real extra strain on the A14 Bionic chipset. It is physically larger though, which means you can fit slightly more on the screen, if you just love you some information density. Or you can fit the same amount at a bigger size, thanks to the display zoom accessibility feature, which is really, really terrific if your eyesight just needs as much extra as it can get. Even for gaming or watching videos, everything will be just that much bigger, and if this is your primary device, that might be hugely valuable to you. But it also does mean it'll be harder to fit into your pockets, especially you lot out there wearing what looks like a hybrid between skinny hipster jeans and yoga pants. And really, 2020, like everything else, wasn't enough. And depending on what else you carry and how you pack, it might also be harder to fit into your bags and jackets and just all of your things. The iPhone 12 Pro is already a lot of phone. The iPhone 12 Max is a lot, in both the best and worst ways. So you got to just figure out which way is for you. Probably the most important difference, the biggest decision maker between the iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro is the camera system, not the 13mm f2.4 120-degree ultra-wide camera. That shooter is the same on both of them. Same with the LiDAR scanner that allows for fast autofocus and portrait mode in low light and much faster augmented reality in daylight. Just, again, same. The 26mm f1.6 wide angle is better on the Max though, bigger and better, with 1.7 micron pixels instead of 1.4. So yeah, plus 0.3 more micron here, which means it can take in more light for better low light performance. And the optical image stabilization, the OIS, is also sensor shift on the Max, which means instead of the lens just floating to cancel out sensor movement, the sensor itself floats, which is mechanically simpler and yeah, better optical quality. The 52mm telephoto is, well, not 52mm on the Max, it's 65mm, which means it has even more compression and less distortion, which can be really nice on portraits and product shots, still closer to a 50 than an 80, but slightly more in between. And that also means you can step up 2.5x, not just 2x like on Apple's previous telephoto camera systems. The downside, instead of an f2.0 aperture, it's an f2.2 aperture, which means on this camera it actually lets in less light. So while the wide angle is just pure win, the telephoto is really more of a mixed win, a trade-off. If you prefer a 50mm and don't want to give up just any low light performance at all, you may be happier with the 12 Pro instead of the 12 Pro Max. If you're all about that 26mm wide though, then you're going to be all about that Pro Max. The A14 Bionic chipset is the same in both the iPhone 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max. Same architecture, same IP, same Qualcomm X55 modem for FR1 low and mid-band 5G globally and FR2 high-band millimeter wave in the US. Both have 6 GB of RAM, which helps keep even the most bloated social networking apps and games in memory just much longer than before, and both go up to 512 GB of storage if you want to pay the premium for it. Where they differ is, even though the Pro Max has a bigger display to power and more pixels to push around, and maybe a slightly bigger thermal envelope, it also has a bigger battery to do it with. Bigger enough that Apple rates it for an extra 3 hours of local video playback, and an extra hour of video streaming. Also, an extra 15 hours of audio playback. And both work with Apple's new MagSafe magnetic inductive charging system, and both still have a Lightning port and can fast charge up to 50% in 30 minutes with Apple's new, but not included in the box, 20-watt power adapter. But the bottom line here is, bigger is just more, especially with the regular Pro hurting a bit on battery life, thanks to the new build and especially 5G. The Max is still max as in max battery for those who want an iPhone that will just last as long as an iPhone possibly can. And especially with the new camera, it's why I'm personally going to be getting the iPhone 12 Max this year. It's a little extra for me, but I just want the best camera, and adding in that bigger battery just makes it the best choice for me, at least for this year. You've got to do you though, and if you have any more questions or just want to chat, check out my members only Discord, where we talk about iPhones and iPads and watches and Apple Silicon and gear and workflows and just much more. You can find it on Patreon. And yeah, I have Patreon now, patreon.com/ReneRitchie. I set it up right after I quit my big media job back in March, right before all of 2020 happened and started this new indie channel. And it's great because there's a whole preview section where I share ideas and outlines for videos before they're even shot, sometimes early versions of the videos before they go live, longer versions of interviews when they're available, like 45 minutes with iJustine or Walt Mossberg, or extended cuts of my reaction videos. And there are even ways to get your name in the description of every video and the credits. To be more involved in this community and contribute directly to the creation of these videos and future projects, like my new podcast with Georgia Dow, check out patreon.com/ReneRitchie, or just click the link in the description. And clicking that link really helps out the channel. For a ton more, just a ton more on the iPhone 12, click on the playlist above. I've already got a full 45-minute review up, just detailing every single new feature and lots more to come. So click on the playlist, and I'll see you next video.